I think it's genuinely like one of those programs that'll stick with me for my whole life. I think just as, first of all, as a female composer in high school, I didn't know any other female or non-male composers at all. And so I think getting to meet the entire community at Luna Lab and seeing how all of them had like such amazing careers, or they were all aspiring to become like composers, just like I wanted to. It was like such an inspirational space to be in, and to get to meet like my mentor like Nina Shaker and talk to Missy Mazzoli, and making so many friends through the program. I think it was just like a very impactful experience, and it kind of grounded me as sort of like a home as a composer, if that makes sense. Like I'll always remember these people and this community as some place that really reminded me of like why I'm composing and to be confident in my passion as a composer. And so yeah, it's something I'll never forget.
Thank you.
I'd like to add that while the Luna Composition Lab makes such an impact on every single fellow that comes across to it, I have to say that it is probably the most formative experience in my musical career. It is the best thing that could have happened to me in my journey. I do not think I would be pursuing a career in the music field without it. I didn't even think it was something that was possible, especially growing up around here in Silicon Valley, where there's a really heavy tech emphasis. And I had like no other friends who were even interested in going into the arts. And I often got like kind of like scorned or scoffed at when I mentioned that I might be interested in pursuing a major in music. And so the Luna Lab gave me so much confidence and realization that there are so many ways that you can have a career in the arts, and it's such a wonderful place to be. So it's also really the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, I was a fellow back in 2019, 2020, and now I'm here 5 years later getting to do this commission as a partnership with Ensemble for These Times and Luna Lab. So every time I think that they're done with me, they have some new amazing opportunity, and I can't recommend the program enough.
Thank you. So in addition to your mentors, Luna, Missy Mazzoli, and either Ellen Reed or Nina Shaker, I know you're both in college now. Lucy, you're a freshman at Stanford, yes?
Sophomore.
You're a sophomore at Stanford, okay. And Maddie, you're at USC.
Yes.
And what year are you?
Junior now.
You're a junior now, right. I'm sure you both have mentors that are important to you at your schools. Can you tell the audience a bit about them or your experiences in college in general?
For sure. I can go first this time. Well, I've had the fortune of being mentored by a lot of amazing people at USC. I love USC as a school specifically because not only is the music school and the art school extremely strong, and they love to collaborate with each other and work on a lot of projects together, but the school itself is also very strong in academics. So I can, study anything that I want to. They have an insane range of majors and minors, and that's why I can study both the arts and also music law, which is something else that I'm interested in. And so I've had many different professors throughout all these different classes that have really changed my worldview. I like to joke, because my professors keep going on sabbatical and pursuing amazing projects doing touring the nation or premiering operas in Europe. I've had basically a new composition professor to study with every semester, which is good as a composer because you can get different opinions on your work, and it's always great to have different perspectives. But I've had a few, if you're into the more experimental pop electronic, she's very famous among a lot of the pop students at USC, but her name is More Mother, that's her stage name. I know her as Professor Kamei. She taught me a lot about more thinking more abstractly and working with electronics. I've also had Veronica Krausis, who also does a lot of work, I think, in the Bay Area. And she has taught me a lot about writing for vocal music, so I'm excited to have my vocal piece performed tonight. And currently I'm studying with with Brian Head, who's also one of the guitar professors at USC. I don't know how he has time for me because he's also the associate dean for the music school, so he's on top of all his other duties and also being like the top called guitarist for like the LA Phil. I don't know how he has any time to help me out, but he has such like a wonderful nurturing style that I really relate to, and I personally need a lot of for something that is so like that can be so creatively training. So I'm really grateful to have had so many wonderful influences.
Thank you.
For me, I think going to somewhere like Stanford where a lot of people are like doing stuff all the time and everyone just seems so busy and like in their own world, I think thinking of mentors, I actually think of a lot of my peers who are very into music. Like I've met so many great friends from my orchestra and doing different ensemble groups, and some of my friends, they came together and made like our own student ensemble, and like we basically like play each other's compositions or people's arrangements, and I think having that sort of community on campus with, like you said, like Silicon Valley is so focused in tech, like a lot of people on my campus are also very focused in tech, but being able to have these like music groups on campus with my peers, it really like reminds me, or it really also like grounds me in like a sort of musical community, and also to not like be like ashamed of what I'm passionate in and stuff like that. And I would say I've also been studying with different different staff in the composition department. One of my favorite teachers, his name was Francois Rose. He has taught a lot of like different techniques to me and other composition students, and I've gotten to study with him one-on-one. And he's just such a fun energy, and so he's also someone that comes to mind. But I think for me, when I think of mentors beyond the staff in the music department, I think of a lot of my musician friends that have really kept me going with all of my musical activities.
Thank you. I'd like to talk a bit about your composing now. I know both of you have background in piano, and Marianne, I know you play the saxophone as well. My teacher, David Conti, advocates for a strong performance background in composing, and I'm sure those backgrounds have been helpful to you. How do you think your performance experience has informed your pieces?
So I started playing piano actually a long time before I started composing. I started piano when I was 4, and then composing maybe like 10 years after that. But I think piano is actually what got me into composing in the first place, because I would play a piece and I would be like, or I'd hear someone else play something and I'd be like, oh my gosh, like why does that sound so good and how? And so I think that is what drove me to start studying composing. But then also in return, when I became like a composer and I continued performing, I would like kind of think of the works I was playing, like if I was learning a new concerto or a new solo piece, and I would kind of look at like what the composer did and why they did that. And I think learning composing also got me more into new music in general, because as a performer I played a lot of just like romantic to classical works, and so I think it really works like hand in hand, like performing and composing. Also that kind of reminds me of as a violinist as well, when I got to write for the orchestra, and if I was playing other people's works as a violinist and things would, like certain techniques would like annoy me and stuff like that, that would kind of make me think of how I could work better as a composer. So I think it really is like a cycle of like you like in the POV of like writing works, and then on the performer side, trying to imagine what it would be like to play something that you wrote. I think it's a positive feedback loop, and it helps really well.
Thank you.
Thanks. On that same note, I have definitely gone through a lot of different kind of style explorations and changes, trying to figure out what the heck my compositional voice is. My professor Brian had said like not to worry about that as much, because anything I write is inherently going to be my own voice, which is actually really reassuring to hear. But I remember trying so many different things out, and even like specifically writing to try to cater towards like doing better in contests, which is kind of not a great way to go about things, honestly, and it didn't feel very authentic or true to myself. So even though a lot of my more recent pieces don't do quite as well in like the more traditional, like, you know, you submit your scores to stuff and see if it wins whatever place it does, I've noticed that not only do I like listening to a lot of my more recent pieces now, I notice the performers have a lot more fun playing them, and they seem to like really enjoy that, and that means so much more to me, as if they're having fun with it. So I like to try to really empathize with the performer. I think my performance background definitely affects that. Like Lucy, I also started piano way before I started composing. And I think like you can probably relate, but a lot of like Asian kids get put into classical piano and or violin at the age of like 4 or 5. And then we just keep continuing that throughout high school and whatnot. But I think sticking in classical piano, that was not the thing that got me into composing. It was saxophone. It was the jazz and improv scene and the realization that I can write music of my own, which is pretty crazy. But it's actually hard for me to compose on piano, I would say, because I feel like I have the ghosts of too many classical concertos and whatnot that I've learned in the past, and that's like what my fingers want to go to. So I like to compose a little more like by singing, even though I'm not a fantastic singer, but because it's where my ear can go. So
It's really interesting that you say those things, because I started in music with voice lessons, and it's one of the most expressive forms of music making, and that's what intrigued me with music, and I started in songwriting, and that sort of developed into writing concert music, and it's also interesting that you say that saxophone is what got you interested in composing, because one of my mentors in high school is a saxophonist, and he introduced me to it as well. So a few parallels there. I want to talk a bit about your commissions now. Lucy, your piece, Exhalation, is inspired by a short story by Chen of the same title. How did that story inspire your concept for the piece?
Yeah, so first of all, honestly, I don't think I read as much as I should, so maybe I'm already biased towards what I read. It affects me a lot, but I read this short story over the summer, and just like a short recap of the story, Ted Chiang, he's really well known for his science fiction writing, and this short story is basically about a civilization of kind of like human-like cyborgs where like humans, they kind of depend on air, but instead of like having like actual lungs and stuff, like their lungs are made of metal, and then their brains are made of like tiny gold leaf, and the way they think and function is through how air flows through them. And so the novel, or the short story, kind of explores how, as the air in their universe is kind of depleting, or they figure out that it's not like forever lasting, they kind of have to deal with that ending, but instead of thinking of their like finiteness as like something really sad, they call on us as the reader to celebrate like everything that they've created through life, and to think about like all the art and music that we write, and all the good that comes from existing in the first place. So as I was reading that over the summer, I was like, oh my god, this writing is so good, and I was like tearing up and everything, and it just made me think of like how special it is to be alive, and to, you know, I really noticed my own like exhalations and breathing while I was reading, and I got really inspired by that notion of like just like thinking about like how alive you are, and like that you can think and you can breathe, and I wanted to put that in my piece, because I know like a really big like metaphor for breathing in music is also like all the phrases you play, and we always like take a breath before we start playing, so I tried to incorporate that a bit literally in my piece. And also just with my phrasing, like bigger phrases and smaller phrases, I kind of all thought of those as like metaphors for small and bigger breaths. And with a lot of my pieces, I tend to just like writing about like imagining stuff. So the piece kind of just takes the listener through like an imagination of like appreciation for life and for creation. And so I want the listener to kind of be able to reflect and appreciate those things as well when they listen.
Both of you used extended performance techniques in your pieces, which I've always really admired about new music. I think they always tend to better serve the message that the composer is trying to convey, which is especially important in vocal music. I have a question for you, Matt. Excuse me while I look my notes. So your piece, The Fisherman's Post, is inspired by the folk legends in the poem by Crescent, called Crescent by A.R. Williamson. And I read your program note for that piece. You go on to write, quote, "I hear this poem as an intimate storytelling of a trade known to humanity throughout history, and of an ethereal world with marvelous creatures tucked away in the night." It's a beautiful description, and I was wondering if you could give the audience some more information on what you meant by that.
I'd love to. So, personally, just as a piece of context, I specifically would really aim to work with poets who are, a little bit like me. So, number one, alive is great. Number two is it would be great if they're a woman. So, there's so many amazing public domain poems you can use by people who have been dead for 500 years. So those are really convenient to use, but I love being able to collaborate with a peer. So the person who wrote this poem, A.R. Williamson, I know her as Abby, and I've known her since elementary school. We grew up together, and we went through high school together, and one day I always knew she was a good writer, but one day she created a poetry account, and she started posting stuff. And I remember I saved this one on Instagram, and one day I was like, can I please write this? I'm totally in love with this gorgeous imagery you have here. I love this very oceanic seaside vibe you have here, and I just so I had the benefit of being able to kind of ask her questions about this and what does this mean to you, but she also told me that it was important to her that I really draw my own ideas from it. So I love all these kind of ideas of passing things down from generations, about thinking of your ancestry, of the paths that your elders have kind of brought through, especially coming from generations of families who immigrated to the U.S. So thinking of that same way of storytelling, and I grew up reading a lot of fairy tales and folk legends and mythologies, and so I love the idea of stories that evolve over time. And I know that happens on the wharfs too, of fishermen who tell each other stories to pass the time while they're waiting for their fish to bite, and how those tales kind of evolve. I love that comes across in folk song too. And so reading this reading this poem, it's in the program, you can totally read it for yourself, and I highly recommend doing so. It's so good. You kind of see the story unfold of there's the secret place here. It's the Fisherman's Post, and this is the best spot where the fish comes. You see all the critters come. It's so lovely at night, and it's this secret where it's this is the knowledge that we're passing down to different generations for a trade that hopefully won't be lost. So I just think it's a really lovely poem to read, and it just I just got this very warm, kind of cozy, intimate feeling reading about this poetry, and I think that's also what Abby told me that she was going for as well.
Thank you. I just have a few more questions about your backgrounds to wrap up. I really enjoyed learning more about you through our podcast, For Good Measure. For those of you who haven't listened to it, you can find it wherever you listen to your podcasts. Lucy, I know the rest of your episodes are this week. Congratulations. In your first episode, you talked a bit about your high school orchestra director who offered to you that you compose or arrange something for the orchestra, which must have been a really exciting offer, and really generous of him, and kudos to you for taking advantage of it. Can you tell us a bit more about how that came about?
Yeah, so I met my high school conductor in freshman year of high school, where I didn't really know anyone at my high school, and I wanted to join orchestra to see if I could kind of find some sort of community there. And he turned out to be one of the most like passionate and honestly kind of crazy conductors. Like he has an interesting reputation at school for sometimes being too crazy. But from him, I really saw what passion and like pure fire for music could mean, because he would be so like very into it while conducting, more than any other conductor I've met. And high school was also the time that I started composing, and I had a lot of time to compose during COVID. And I remember during COVID, through all the Zoom classes, I don't know about everyone else's experiences during Zoom, but for me, like everyone's cameras were off, like no one was paying attention. I don't think I learned anything that year, honestly. But the one class that I actually felt something was orchestra, which is kind of interesting as it's not an academic class. But his name's Christopher Sanz. Mr. Sanz would make us turn all of our cameras on, and we would even do like physical warm-ups at the beginning of every class. Like we'd do like jumping jacks at home. It was very interesting, but that was the one class that really kept me engaged and kind of motivated through COVID. And then after COVID, I had written some pieces, and I was wondering, since he's also the conductor of our youth orchestra that I had recently joined, I just asked him if I could ever arrange or compose anything, and then he just told me, oh, sure, you can write a whole piece that opens our next Philharmonic concert. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, okay, sure, that's great. And so that piece was, and it was a very interesting commission. It was set to be for orchestra and water percussion. So he had like 4 bowls of water, because the whole concept of his concert was like, I guess it was like water related, like water and healing. And so it was such an amazing project that I got to work on and like kind of like stretch my creativity. And since I was also in the Philharmonic Orchestra at that time, I got to write my own piano part, so I could make it as hard or as easy as I wanted to at certain points. And that's when, as I mentioned earlier, like as a violinist and pianist in the orchestra, I got to think about like what it would be like for other people to play my work. And so I think all in all, it was just a very formative experience, and it opened so many doors for me. And I couldn't thank him enough after that. Like, he's still one of my favorite like musical mentors. I still stay in touch with him now as a college student, and I think he's one, like led me to so many opportunities, and 2, he's just an amazing person, super passionate, and I think he showed me what passion for music can really be.
Thank you. It's great to have people in our early years to help us build the foundation. It's something we love, and get us to love something so that we can carry it with us for the rest of our lives. So thank you for sharing that. If I remember correctly, in your interview, Maddie, you mentioned how you have some experience in multimedia composition and audiovisual music. Today's piece doesn't use any of those elements, but could you tell us a bit about how your approach to writing concert music or vocal chamber music differs from writing electroacoustic music?
Absolutely. So it's actually surprisingly difficult for me to write music where it's set to a visual, which is why I probably wouldn't make an amazing film composer. But if you're at USC and you're studying composition, at some point you are going to do a film composition. You are going to be scoring at some point. It's just a given. So my first piece that was like a film score was a collaboration with my roommate's friend, who is now my friend because my roommate's in animation, but she made this lovely little like 3-minute animation, and it's so beautiful. The pitch deck made me cry, so if you see the real thing, good luck. But I just remember like immediately like watching this and kind of already hearing like these sonic ideas. So that one was like very intuitive to me because the director had such a strong vision for what she wanted musically. So that was really helpful. But for some other occasions, like writing for dance, which was like heavy on electronics and multimedia, that one was very difficult, coming up with like, what does this sound like? What are these movements that people are making? What the heck does it sound like? How do I interpret this? And I definitely found that the easiest thing for me to write is when I have text. And I don't know why it took me so long to write vocal music, because even my very first pieces, I would have like a little quote under the title, or like the title would be pulled from some sort of lyric or poem already. So I have no idea why I didn't start writing for voice until very recently, where I just like sat down and saw the text, and like as I was reading it already, like the melodies were just coming to me, and it felt so natural. So it's very different, like writing for vocal music, which usually the film directors don't want, versus writing for electronics, which is fun. I don't consider myself great at electronics, honestly. I mostly just like, you know, pull or push around little levers and buttons into Logic until it kind of sounds like what I want, and it's kind of cool. I end up Googling a lot of things in the process, but it's so much fun to try putting in new samples and new ideas, and often the electronics is what really like pushes me out of my comfort zone, which is very creatively exciting.
Thank you to both of you. Just to reiterate, Maddie and Lucy are alums of the Lena Composition Lab. It's an initiative that mentors female composers ages 13 to 18. I think that's our time. I don't think we have any questions have any time for questions from the audience, I'm sorry. But thank you again for joining us. I really appreciate it.
You don't have to clap for me, I'm just here to introduce. Welcome, thank you for coming. Congratulations to the Composition Lab composers. We have a survey that we hope you all will fill out, either online, there's a QR code, or paper. And, and I'm Nanette McGuinness. E4TT only can do things like this concert today through donations and your help. So thank you for supporting us, and please keep doing it. Now here's Margaret, she will start the program.
Pause before a house that seemed to swell Look around, magic everywhere.
Why is the rose? How is the sun? When is first? When is last? Who will love us? What will save us? And who are you? Nobody. What do you do? But who'll vouch for you?
cellar. A midnight snack.
My God.
And you sit on
Thank you.